Fanatics. We're back with week 14 predictions. We are going to, the three of us are gonna make our predictions for this week for all the games coming up. Last week, how did we do, Johnny? How did the three of us do?
Well, it was unfortunate, Brad. You and I kind of ran the same, and so we both got 8 wins. Tim beat us with the 9th win. Ironically,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Well, how many did I get?
You did get 9. Yes,
Okay.
you picked 2 different ones than us. Actually, Brad, I didn't even get yours. I don't know if you're right there. I assume you got 8. I don't know. But Tim, I do know that you got 9 because you took Detroit over New Orleans and you took the Rams over the Browns. I took the opposites of those, but I also picked the game of the week in which you thought was going to be a destruction blowout, and you were dead wrong. So you might get 1 extra win, but I get my feather in the cap for calling the upset of the week. Green Bay beating Kansas City.
Okay, moving on to this week.
I think you want to move on from that conversation.
The
Told
app
you
that
KC ain't playing well.
The app that I'm using doesn't tell me how many I got last week, but we'll have to keep track. So,
all right, we're going to do it. So let's start this week. Is there any chance in the world of the Patriots actually winning this game?
No.
What say, Brad?
The Pittsburgh is favored by 6. The over-under is 30. Money line on Pittsburgh is minus 267. The Pittsburgh Steelers have the 18th power ranking, and New England has the 31st. They're second to the bottom. So,
which surprises me that the Giants are beating them in that category.
In the last 5 games, New England is 0-5. Their record is 1-4 away, and Pittsburgh is 4-3 at home. I mean, Pittsburgh minus 6. I don't know if I even trust that, but I'm going with Pittsburgh at home tonight.
All right, but what do you mean you don't trust the minus 6.5? Do you think that the Pittsburgh could win but not cover the spread?
Yeah.
You know, you did make a valid point in an off-camera or in an off-mic conversation you and I had. I think you said, and I wasn't astute to it because, again, I've been a little out of the loop, but you said Kenny Pickett's not going to be in the game, right?
Right.
Okay.
Nope.
Well, that does.
It's going to be Trubisky. We've seen Trubisky in our division, right? For the Chicago Bears. That's
yeah, it's not a whole lot going on there.
Yeah. So,
but now you give down to just flat out, okay, throw the quarterbacks out the window, right? What do you got left? Mm-hmm. Now we're talking defense, offensive line, running game, secondary. You got all these other positions going on, right? Even the special teams, right? I'm taking the Steelers. Defense is way better. Offense is way better. Even without Kenny Pickett, it's better, period. And I think, Tim, you're automatically in that category.
Yeah, I'm in that category.
Okay, I figured as much.
Great commentary.
Way to get
Has Belichick lost the locker room since Mac Jones has been back and forth?
No, he's checked out for the year.
100% checked out.
Mac Jones.
He is checked out.
Who's he?
Belichick.
He is checked out completely for the year.
Is he coming back?
I don't believe so.
To Baltimore? No.
I think he might retire and just be done.
To New England? Belichick coming back to New England?
To New England? Yeah, cut that. To New England? No. Could he end up somewhere else? If memory serves me, wasn't the guy the coach of the Browns way back in the day?
He was an assistant coach there, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you could end up back in the toilet. I mean, it depends. I personally think Touchdown's got it right. I think if at this point you retire, either that or you have to go get a team and you have to make them a champion in order to preserve your legacy. Other than that, it's the Tom Brady game.
He's not going to go somewhere and win right away, and I don't think he wants to put in the years it'll take to get somebody up to Super Bowl.
So think about his legacy. He has a New England Patriots legacy with Brady, and then the last 3 years he goes below 500 all 3 years.
And it's just getting uglier. It's literally like the era of Brady made championship football out of this team. But if anybody remembers these Patriots long before Brady, they were dogs. I mean, they were a garbage football team. 1-15, 2-14 seasons consistently. I think Rex, what's his name? Oh man, I just forgot. He was an old Rex Ryan. Thank you. He called it best. I mean, I'm happy to see some of these old coaches that did a really good job calling Belichick out. I am, because I've said for years that Belichick is absolutely no Bill Parcells and never would be. And everybody gave him this credit. Now that Brady's gone, we see what Belichick looks like, which is basically a stinking turd. I love it. It vindicates my whole theory and what I saw all those years. Brady was the man. Belichick is a Cleveland Brown assistant quarterback in the toilet, or assistant coach in the toilet. So,
all right, next pick. I am going to go by my order, so we're going to probably jump around.
All right.
Next game is the Panthers.
What did we do on that game? Did we all pick Pittsburgh?
Yes, we all took the Steelers.
Okay.
I'll recap for you.
Okay.
The next game is the Panthers at the Saints, and the Saints are favored by 5 at home. The over-under is 37.5. Carolina is 0-7 on the road. I'm going with the Saints.
Yeah, same thing. I had them.
Saints.
Even though they have Derek Carr. Gotcha.
Well, I mean, the reality is it gets down to that road record right there. I mean, 0-7. Carolina's already having a terrible season. That team is pretty much checked out. Now you got to go against
the rest of the year.
Yeah, now you got to go against the Saints team that's actually lost some pretty good games, and they've beat some good teams too. So it seems like a no-brainer. Hell, I think the money line on that was a big game too. If I remember, it wasn't even worth betting on.
Minus 235 on the Saints, plus 192 on the Panthers.
Yeah, it might be worth throwing in a 17 parlay for fun. Game B. So that one, we all got the Saints. Pretty easy.
Houston at the Jets. Houston is favored by 3.5. The over/under is 33. The Jets have a power ranking of 29, and the Houston Texans have a power ranking of 9. Last 4 games, Houston is 4-1. The Jets are 0-5.
I'm going Houston.
I looked at this game on paper. This was an interesting game on paper. And I say that because stat for stat, the Jets aren't as bad as people might think. When it comes to scoring, they're terrible. That's their weakness. They just can't seem to score. But when it comes to things like their defense, they play very well. I think they're one of the top rated teams in interceptions in the league. And I think they're the best team at getting the ball back in the red zone and in the end zone specifically. So personally, with all that said, CJ Stroud is still playing out of his mind. I got to go with Houston, but I thought it looked interesting on paper, but it should be a blowout. It should be. So what do you got, Brad? You got Houston?
Houston, I'm taking Houston, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we all agree on that one too. What's the next game?
I've got 14 points on Houston. So you rank the picks in the group that I'm in, and there's 15 games this week. And so I've ranked them as the second
easiest
most points. Yeah, 14. Yep. The one that I have at 13 is the Rams at the Ravens. The Rams are 6-6, Ravens 9-3. Baltimore is favored by 7. The over/under is 40. The money line on the Ravens is minus 350. Away record is 3-3 for the Rams. Home record is 4-2 for the Ravens. So really no help there. But the power ranking for Baltimore is 5. Power ranking for the Rams is 14th. The Rams have come up quite a bit. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens, 9-3. I'm putting some stock in them. Lamar Jackson should have a big game against the Rams defense.
That's a good analysis. Let me put that down here. What say you, Tim?
I'm going Baltimore. I don't think the Rams have a shot at it. Baltimore's been playing really good. Lamar's actually playing pretty good this year too, I think. And he's healthy.
Which is strange because right about now he starts to get hurt, and statistically the Ravens have not had him after the 11th week. So
I would say this. I'm just gonna throw right up front. I'm taking the Ravens. I agree with you, but I've taken them for different. I look at the game and I say, well, the Rams have won 3 in a row. I mean, you got to tip their hat to winning 3 in a row. But when you look at it, they beat Seattle, which is if they're playing with all cylinders, they're doing good. Yeah, and that's a division game. They beat Arizona. Not a lot said there. And they beat Cleveland. Again, not a lot said there. And they just beat Cleveland. And so with the Drake Browning team, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going with the Ravens too. I do believe it's probably a blowout. I don't want that because I'm up against Lamar Jackson in the fantasy football week, but I don't know if I can see anything different in the future. I hate to say that. It's that defense of the Ravens. And when Lamar, if you've sat back and statistically watched the game, just don't watch the physical game, like watch the analytics go by, little X's and O's. And when you watch that, the Ravens they throw 20-yard passes, 16-yard passes, 35-yard passes, 16-yard runs. And when that offense starts clicking, dude, they're unstoppable. So that kind of is an easy one. So what you got next? Again, we're all in agreement.
The next one is Jacksonville at Cleveland. Cleveland is favored by 3, so the hometown 3 points they get. The over-under is 30.5. The money line is minus 175 on Cleveland. Cleveland is 7-5. Jacksonville's 8-4. Jacksonville is 5-0 on the road. Cleveland is 5-1 at home. The power ranking for Jacksonville is 8. Power ranking for Cleveland is 17. I'm going with Cleveland simply because I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is playing or not because of his injury that he had in the last game. If Trevor Lawrence comes back, I may switch this one to Jacksonville. But right now, I'm going with Cleveland. They got CJ Beathard as their quarterback for backup. Yeah. You saw what he did in the last 5 minutes of the game. He's not going to lead the Jacksonville over Cleveland. And Cleveland has the best defense in the NFL. So,
and I was just about to say, when it comes to passing defense, there ain't nobody better than Cleveland. They give up 153 yards in the air on average per game. 153. That's crazy.
Who are you picking, Johnny?
I'm letting you go first. I'm not telling you what my pick is yet.
I'm going Jacksonville.
I had a hunch you would do that. I really did. And I'll tell you the truth. My original write down was Jacksonville. But this game, I also put a scratch through it, which means I wouldn't bet on it, or I would make 2 parlays and put 1 in each parlay. The reason I say that is because Cleveland's D is really good. And Jacksonville's run game isn't all that, in my opinion. As a matter of fact, their run game's only ranked at 22nd in the league, where, Cleveland's run game is ranked at 7th. So I'm looking at this game from a time of possession. If Jake Browning plays it all like he did lately, where he's been throwing good, that's going to be really helpful. I see Cleveland winning the game. I can't believe I'm even saying that right now with as many problems as they have, but that defense is so strong. And Jacksonville, I just don't know if you're going to be able to throw the ball against them. And I know you're not going to be able to run it.
Who do you mean for the quarterback for Cleveland?
Well, no, what's the kid's name? Not Browning. Who's the backup for him? Not Browning. He's with
Browning's at Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. That kid had a good game. Who's the backup here? It's that dude. He's the guy who won't throw the ball to Cooper, and he's killing me. That's why I'm sitting Amari Cooper again this week. I can't think of his name. I don't even like saying it because I get so angry about it. Because to me, this game is defense and time of possession. That's what I see here. I really do. Again, what is the name of that dang quarterback's name? Oh, PJ Walker. That's his name.
Dorian Thompson Robinson is questionable. Then it's Joe Flacco, and then it's PJ Walker.
Oh, wow. I don't like any of those choices. Flacco, we all know how that can go or can't go.
And I think Flacco just played last week, didn't he?
He did play last week. He did throw the ball a little bit. And if I remember, it was something amazing. Like it was his first possession, first drive, and he threw a touchdown. And we were all like, did that just happen? But again, I still think this comes down to time of possession, and I think it comes down to the ground game and the defense. So I hope I don't lose taking Cleveland again against him, but I'll take him.
So TD's the only one taking Jacksonville. Yeah.
This is a parlay bet, though, for me.
It's a parlay bet for you?
It's a split. This is one of those ones where I take $50, put it on a 7-team here, and then I take $50, I put it on another 7-team, and I swap this game out.
Okay. Tampa Bay at Atlanta. Tampa Bay's 5-7. At the beginning of the season, they looked like they were going to be pretty good. The Atlanta Falcons are 6-6. Atlanta's favored by 1. The over-under is a flat 40. The money line is -120 on Atlanta. Atlanta is 4-2 at home. Tampa Bay is 2-4 on the road. There's no key injuries other than Vita Vea is questionable. Their big defensive lineman. Atlanta Falcons, Jeff Okudah, their cornerback, their star cornerback, has an ankle issue. Not sure if he's going to come back from that, but I'm going to go with the Falcons at home.
All right, I'll go first on this one, touchdown. Another game I really don't like.
Is he sleeping?
He might be. No, he might be. But seriously, another game I absolutely do not like. It's funny because the Bucs can't seem to beat a good team. That seems to be their record. They can't beat a good team. Atlanta's a good team. But on the flip side, Atlanta seems to drop games against mediocre teams. So Atlanta wants to rise to the occasion when it's there, but when it's not there, they drop a game to Tennessee. They drop a game to Arizona. You know, you look at that. They squeak by beating the Jets. They squeak by beating New Orleans. I think Atlanta, I'm taking Atlanta in this game, and the reason I'm taking them is actually for my fantasy reason, and it's Bijan Robinson. I think this coach, well, I'm gonna point it out. I've been picking on this coach all season for not playing this kid right, haven't I? I've been beating him up all season. Yeah. But on the flip side, I said when they came back from the bye week, watch out for Bijan to be a huge part of that team. I think the coach is learning something. He comes out of the bye week, Bijan goes to town, team wins. Comes out of the bye, and the next week barely plays Bijan. Team scrapes by against New York. My point is I think the coach is learning how to play this kid. And if he does, this should be an easy game to win.
Well, and if you listen to the game commentary, they were saying that Art Smith was holding the number of reps they gave Bijan Robinson because they didn't want to wear him out the first half of the season.
Correct.
They wanted him the second half. But if they didn't play him very much in the last game, that kind of goes against everything that they were saying. So who knows what they're really doing.
That's why I keep arguing about this coach. I'm like, dude, and this whole rookie fatigue thing, this drives me nuts. This drives me bonkers. It's ruined the running back rookie game. So what do you got, Tim? I got Atlanta. Brad's got Atlanta. What say touchdown? Well, what sort of analytical diagnosis are you going to give us?
Obviously, I think that, you guys have made the argument as to why I should pick Atlanta, but I'm going to pick Tampa.
Oh, you're going against the grain for what reason?
I think Mayfield's going to have a good game in Atlanta, and I watched Atlanta and how they played against the Vikings in Atlanta, and I don't think Atlanta's going to be there. I don't think they're going to do what they have to do to win.
It's interesting.
So just to interpret, we're picking Atlanta, so he just wants to pick the other opposite team.
No,
that's fine with me.
I really think that Tampa's going to win.
The next game is the Green Bay Pukers at the New York Giants. Pukers are 6-6. Giants are 4-8. Pukers are 4-1 in their last 5 games. Their away record is 2-4. New York has a home record of 2-3, obviously, with a 4-8 record. Green Bay's favored by 6.5 on the road. The money line is -320 on the Pukers. Probably one you don't want to touch. The key injuries, the Pukers have all the key statistics except for strength of schedule. The Giants have the 5th hardest schedule. Aaron Jones, his knee, he's questionable with his MCL. Christian Watson is questionable with a hamstring. Jair Alexander is questionable with his shoulder. And for the Giants, their rookie O-tackle, Evan Neal, is questionable with an ankle. and Dexter Lawrence, his hamstring, he's questionable. So none of those really changed my mind. I'm still going to go with the Pukers on Monday night at East Rutherford, New Jersey.
No brainer for me. I want to. The only question I have is to Tim is do you think the Packers are for real yet?
Yes.
Okay. I'm glad you're with me now because I've been saying it for 3 weeks.
I watched him a couple of weeks. I think Love's got he's playing a lot better than I thought he was going to play. I watched that last game, and I mean, some of his passes were spot on.
They were gorgeous. Now I got a question for both of you.
And
You're both diehard Vikings fan. 50, 60 years. You got 110 plus years of Vikings love in both of you. My question to you is this. Are you worried in about 2 or 3 seasons from now?
Yeah.
When that rookie Packers team has come up and those boys have played together? Because if you think about it, I think on the wide receiving core of the Packers, Jordan Love has got his oldest receivers in his second season.
right.
So what does 2-3 years from now look like?
By then they will be dominant, and I think it's going to be I even think this year. I got a feeling that game that in Week 17 against the Packers is going to be play it, win or you're out. Because
That's what I was saying 4 weeks ago.
us and the Packers, I think that game's going to hold that kind of I think that's what's going to happen is that game could be a win in you're out or win in you're in, win in you're out. And right now, the way that we're playing, I'd have to give it to the Packers in Week 17.
Well, and that's the pessimistic side of the Vikings fans. How about the optimistic side of the Vikings fans?
Yeah, that's the non-homer side. That's the critic.
Oh my God!
If you
like I've told Brad, he's the only guy last year when the Vikings lost in the first round. Miraculously, he still had the Vikings winning the Super Bowl. I couldn't figure it out. How did he do that?
So funny.
How could he do that? I couldn't figure it out. And then, unfortunately, somehow they got beat in the Super Bowl by Kansas City. So, we still had the Vikings, but
Hey, Papa Smurf, you've had your time. I'm
Are
talking.
you going to take all that now, Brad?
The Vikings defense is a lot better this year. I think Love, he can read the defenses. He can throw the people open. But I think he can be confused by schemes. And so we all know that B-Flow has a very good defensive scheme. So I think when Love figures out how teams are trying to make certain defenses look a certain way, unfortunately, I think the Packers are going to have a very good quarterback, 3 quarterbacks in a row, which this is really just jealousy because I'll tell you right now, I would be strutting my stuff if I had Favre and Rodgers on my team. I would be telling everybody the Vikings are the greatest team in the world, right? And so I understand why the Packers are, you can't go anywhere without seeing a Packer fan. You can't even go to the Bahamas. There's somebody wearing Packer gear in the Bahamas. When I was on vacation, there was somebody there with a Packers jersey on. I'm like, what in the world is going on? But
green's more fashionable than purple.
But the thing is that the Vikings have a chance here to bring Kirk Cousins back, go into a draft, reach up and grab a quarterback that they think can be the quarterback of the future. If we can do that, I think the Vikings and the talent with JJ and with Addison and the front line that we have, I think we can beat the Packers every year. So, and as Tim says, I did not have the Vikings winning the Super Bowl after they lost the first week in the playoffs.
I was amazed.
He just likes to be a putz. Papa Smurf says things and people don't listen. This is the case right here with TD. That. Papa Smurf keeps talking and nobody's listening.
I tried to tell you that.
Moving on to the next game, and we'll just kind of
just something to throw out on the air for all the people listening. One thing to consider: you called it in this game here, Brad. You called it in this game here, Brad. You said that mixing up against Jordan Love and mixing up the defenses could cause him some real problems. If you look at there is one thing the Giants do pretty well for being a dog team who's last. They intercept the football. So something to keep an eye on for the game.
They do allow 364 yards per game, but you're right, that turnover, they are pretty high on the turnover. So next game is the Seattle Seahawks.
I picked Packers. You didn't never.
Yeah, we know. Okay. Oh yeah, you did. You already said you picked the Packers.
Okay.
You said I agree, and I assumed that meant you were taking the Packers.
I apologize. I called him Papa Smurf. He's actually sleepy. Seattle Seahawks at the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers are favored by 10.5. My father-in-law said anytime a team is favored by 10 points or more, run. Don't bet on it. So the 49ers are number 1 for power ranking. The Seattle Seahawks are 15th. 49ers are 9-3. We saw their last win over the Eagles. The Seattle Seahawks are 6-6. The money line on San Francisco is
$5.50.
Wow, you saw it. Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, I like to put down a few wagers, so yeah, I'm pretty sure I should know money line.
Over under is 46.5. San Francisco's 4-1 at home. The away record for Seattle is 2-4. I think San Francisco has Seattle's number. I'm going with San Francisco.
You're up this time, TD.
Yeah, dead air means you speak.
49ers. I don't think that they're going to. I don't think they're going to lose a game the rest of the year.
Yeah, he said that about the Eagles when we were talking on the phone, and the Eagles were playing the 49ers. As a matter of fact, Papa Smurf said, you know what? I think the Eagles are going to go 19-1, and boy, wouldn't you like to be that team? That's the only team that beat them.
When they were minus 6 yards after one quarter, yeah, I was saying that about the Eagles, but for what the 49ers just didn't equal it for the second and make it a second half game. They dominated the rest of the game. And I think that I don't see the way that San Francisco played that game. I don't know how you can say there is a team that's going to beat them. I think the AFC is showing that they're not as strong as what I thought they were when the season started.
Don't count out them Ravens.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Lamar looks special this year.
He does, but I just think that, if San Francisco would have had the players they were missing when they played us, that game would have been a whole different thing. And
so I think the 49ers play the Seahawks this week. They play the Cardinals next week. That's obviously a win, Tim. They play the Ravens at home after that. What do you think? Could that be one of the ones that they lose?
I will still go 49ers.
Okay. Sit as far away as you can so we can barely hear you. Commanders, they play the Commanders in Washington.
I'm going to go with the 49ers.
Much better. Much better. The 49ers are at the Commanders on December 31st, New Year's Eve. And then they have the Rams at home. So I guess
I'm going with the 49ers the rest of the year.
Thanks. I guess we don't have to take his picks for the next segment.
Not on that game.
Yeah. We already know. Scratch 49ers. TD.
The game you guys are overlooking there, and I'm just throwing it out there, believe it or not, the game you're overlooking, in my opinion, is the Arizona game.
Because Kyler Murray's back.
We'll talk about that next week.
Obviously.
I just think you're overlooking stuff.
Lions at the
No. I took the San Francisco, just so we're on the record. I'm taking Frisco in this game. If anybody, nobody's even said it. Frisco just beat Seattle 31-13 in Seattle. Right. Now they got to come to the Bay Area. Should be a blowout. I do like the over in the game, though. I like the over. That's about the part. And I do agree with Grandpa that you don't take 10.5 point games and bet on them. If you're going to bet on a 10.5 point game, in my opinion, you bet on the 10.5 point favorite, but you don't take the points or you don't give up the points. Just go straight on the line because that 10.5 point spread, that's a heck of a spread. I don't like them either. I'm with him.
Pops has been betting since he's 25. He knows his stuff. 60 years of betting. So, yeah, he knows his stuff. All right, next game is Detroit at the Chicago Bears. This is kind of a tricky one. I'm surprised that I left this at 8, but I think it's because all the other ones I don't want to are a pick 'em, and I don't want to have them on there. Detroit is 9-3. Bears are 4-8. Chicago is a 3-point dog at home, which means they think that the Lions are going to beat them by 6. The over-under is 43.5. The Lions are 5-1 on the road. They are 4-1 in their last 5 games. Chicago is 2-3 at home. The game is 12 o'clock on Fox on Sunday. The key statistics, the Lions have every one of them except for yards against per game, and that one's only a 4-yard spread, and strength of schedule. The Bears have the harder schedule. They have the 13th hardest schedule. The Lions have the 21st hardest schedule. No real injuries here to mention other than Frank Ragnow. His knee, he's still questionable. Even though the Bears gave the Lions a game in Detroit, I am going to go with Detroit again. They had to come back at home. I think they learned from that. I think they're going to lead the whole way here and beat the Bears. It does look like it might be a potential of snow, and so then you want to depend on the better running game, and obviously Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are much better than the Chicago running backs that they have. So that's what I got.
I think
TD?
that I was just going back and forth between who I wanted to pick, Chicago or Detroit. Chicago's actually been playing a little bit better than than earlier in the year, and I think Fields is starting to come around. Unfortunately for the Bears, I think that they just don't have. They're missing a few pieces, obviously, and I really wanted to give Chicago the upset here, but I'm going to go Lions.
You know, that's crazy you say that because I'm totally in the same boat. I really want to give this one to the Bears. I really do. Especially because of the ground game, right? You got the best ground defense going against one of the best ground offenses in the game.
Yep.
And the last time this battle happened, I mean, let's be real, Chicago won that game.
Yep.
Detroit was given a freebie to win it. I mean, that was the famous text message I sent to Brad and to another friend of ours when the Lions were down with 4 minutes to play with 2 scores down. And I said, bet on the Lions right now. Everybody thought I was crazy. It was plus 1,050 if you bet on the Lions to win at that point, and they came right back and won. So I want to take the Bears, but I got the Lions. I have to take the Lions. I do think they're playing better. They keep scraping out these wins, which is driving me crazy because it feels like they could lose any game at any time.
Yep.
So it's a tough one. I mean, what did you say the spread was on it? Was it 3.5, isn't it?
The spread on the game?
Yeah, it's 3.5.
It is 3 right now.
It's 3. And
according to CBS Sportsline.
And they're playing in Chicago this time, right?
Right. So it's Detroit favored by 6, right?
Interesting. Boy, man, that's a tough one. I almost want to go against you both and take the Bears, but I'm not going to.
If the weather wasn't going to be a factor, I think I would choose the Bears, but I'm afraid of that weather.
Well, does that weather really impact either team? I mean, they're both, outside of the Lions playing, but the Lions playing a dome. So, it's not like they're used to playing in the snow all the time, whereas the Bears do play in the snow. So I almost think the snow game might be more favorable to the Bears than it would be to the Lions.
So you're saying you like the Bears running game better than you do the Detroit Lions?
What I'm saying is this. The Bears have been playing better football than their record shows. Detroit's been playing worse football than their record shows.
Yep.
If the snow hits, this game favors Chicago.
Khalil Herbert is their starter, and then Deontay Foreman is the guy that spells him. I don't know. I don't think when you look at David Montgomery, who has something to play for against them back in the city where they let him go, and then Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, is better than Deontay Foreman. I'm going with Detroit as a better run game.
Yeah, but again, you talking about the better run game. I'm saying if the snow hits, you're talking about the better run game. Chicago's got the better defensive run game. They can stop that ball. So how good you're saying that Detroit's offensive run game is going to be better than the number one rush defense game in the middle of the snow for a team that plays in the dome. See, I don't agree with that. That's all.
Well, I mean, Detroit allows 322 yards per game. Chicago allows 318. It's pretty much a pick 'em right there. So I wouldn't, the offense.
Yeah, but they both allow a ton of passing yards, and neither one. They both have the run defense.
Detroit averages 27 points per game, and Chicago averages 20.
Yeah, that's kind of a big key right there, right? I mean, because when you look at it, but then go to time of possession, they split it. Interceptions, you look at that stat and you go, wow, Chicago dominates that stat, but what good is that going to do when Chicago dominates that stat if they're not throwing the football? So to me, it's all about, like I said, if that weather comes into the game, that rushing game is going to be a big deal. And Chicago definitely does not have the better rushing game, but they do have the better defensive line. So, but I'm still going to stick with Detroit. I'll take it.
Okay.
Next.
Moving on to the next pick. It is the Buffalo Bills at the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs hurting a little bit here, obviously. Buffalo, surprisingly, 6-6. Chiefs, 8-4. Chiefs are 4-2 at home. Buffalo's 1-4 on the road. Kansas City's only favored by 1.5. Money line is minus 125 on Kansas City. The over-under is 48.5. Kansas City has the most difficult schedule in the NFL. Buffalo has the 11th. Yards against per game, Kansas City allows 297. Buffalo allows 319. Yards per game, 362 for Kansas City, 383 for the Buffalo Bills. The Bills average 5 more points a game, scoring 5 more points a game than the Kansas City. I see here that Isaiah Pacheco is injured with a shoulder, and he's questionable. And there are no players for Buffalo that are listed as injured. I think Kansas City, being embarrassed last week, will come back and show us how good a team they are.
So are you both on the KC train? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think that Kansas City didn't look that good against the Packers last week, and I think that what's your record now? 8-5, or they 8-5 or 8-4?
Kansas City is 8-4.
8-4. I think that they're kind of coming back down to earth for everybody in the AFC. I think that their dominance might be waning a little bit. I think Baltimore and Miami are starting to take over the AFC. I really like McDaniel as a coach, by the way. But I think Allen, I don't know what it is about that guy, the way he plays quarterback now. He's throwing a lot of interceptions, which kind of concerns me. I think that
tell that to Brett Favre.
I know, but those interceptions also cost them games.
True.
So I think that I think Kansas City's going to win, but I don't think either one of these teams are going to be who represents the AFC in the Super Bowl this year.
No, I still got the Ravens representing the AFC in the Super Bowl.
I could see Ravens or Miami.
You can see the Ravens or Miami, huh?
Yep.
This is a really difficult game, looking at the whole thing, because the thing that's glaring is if Buffalo's road record wasn't a 1-4 record, I say Buffalo all day, every day. They are the better team pound for pound statistically, but they have a really, really, really hard time winning on the road. That to me is very concerning. And if you look at who Buffalo's played this season, the teams they have lost some teams that they shouldn't have lost to. I mean, they lost to Cincinnati when there was no Burrows. They lost to Philadelphia in a great game, a game they probably should have won. I don't know. It's a tough one to me. There's some games out there. I mean, do you realize that New England beat Buffalo earlier this year? That's one of New England's wins, is a Buffalo. So it tells you that there's a lot of problems in that football team. You just don't know what you're going to get. On the flip side, Kansas City, I mean, they're just playing with Travis Kelce so hung up on the Taylor Swift thing, this is a whole different team. There is too much going on outside of that locker room and not enough inside it. For me, I took Buffalo on the road. I'm going to go with the upset.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
I think they go to get their second win on the road.
All right. Next one is the Colts at Cincinnati Bengals. Surprising for me, Cincinnati Bengals are doing okay without Burrow. The Colts are 7-5. Cincinnati are 6-6. It's a noon game. It's it might be a weather game. There might be partial rain. The Colts are 5-1 with an away record. The Bengals are 3-3 at home. It's a pick 'em. Either they're trying to say Cincinnati has a place kicker, or they're saying that it's a pick 'em. And the over-under is 44. The money line is minus 110 on both of them. Key statistics, the Colts have the favor. Strength of schedule, Colts have the 32nd. They have the easiest schedule. And
yes,
the Bengals have the third hardest. The key for me here is Jonathan Taylor's out with a thumb injury. He is their running game. I don't really see any other major injuries here other than maybe one of their tackles, Braden Smith, is questionable with a knee injury. I don't know. At first, when I looked at this, I picked the Bengals, but now I'm starting to think that I don't, when the Colts hired Shane Steichen, I went, what in the world are they doing? They couldn't have got a better coach, but and then Gardner Minshew had to take over when their rookie went down. I was thinking, man, that just doesn't help their issue. But I think Gardner Minshew can throw the ball deep. He's pretty accurate. I'm waffling now. I had Cincinnati picked. I think I'm going to go with Indianapolis. I'm going to switch my pickup. I'm going to go with Indianapolis.
Well, I like Indy as a team, and I think Minshew's been playing. Actually, he's been playing pretty good. But I've seen that last Cincinnati game, and I thought with Burrow being out for the year that they were just going to kind of tank it and not be that good. But I'm going Cincinnati. I think the Bengals are coming around. I think they're playing a lot better, and I think that they will become a wild card team for the AFC.
You think Cincinnati's going to wind up making the AFC wild card?
Yep, I do.
That's interesting. What this game's really going to come down to is it's going to come down to pressure on the quarterback. That's what I see here. The question is whether the Indianapolis Colts and the massive pressure they put on quarterbacks continues, which, looking at it statistically, when you look at the passing, or when you look at things like the offensive side of the football, Bengals can't run the ball. They're the worst team in the game. They can't run the ball. Offensively, they've got to put up 245. They average 245 yards passing. The question is can the rookie get the ball out, or can Browning get the ball out quick enough? And my guess is, if I'm looking at this from a stat for stat, I'm saying if you can't run the ball, Cincy, then that tells me your offensive line isn't that great. And if you can't build a hole and you can't block, that's going to allow this Indy defense to put some massive pressure on Jake. I don't know if Jake has a good game if he's throwing the ball all over the place and getting run down. So I'm taking Indy.
All right, next
What'd
game
you say, Brad?
is...
Brad, you got Indy?
I have Indy, yes.
And Tim's got the
Timothy
Bengals.
went with the Bengals, yeah.
It could go either way.
Denver at Los Angeles Chargers. I always want to say San Diego. Los Angeles Chargers. There's only a game that separates the two, and the Chargers have been playing well since they started out 1-3, 1-4, whatever it was. The power ranking is pretty much nominal. 19th and for the Broncos and 22nd for the Chargers. Last 5 games, Denver's 4-1. Los Angeles Chargers are 2-3, and they had that 6-0 debacle, 6-0 debacle over the New England Patriots. They both have horrendous away records. Oddly enough, the Chargers are favored for their home field advantage of -3. The over-under is 44. The money line is -155 on the Chargers. Surprises me.
Yeah, they do have Denver favored on the road.
Yeah. Yep. No, this one has the Chargers favored -3, and ESPN has.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry, I saw it backwards.
Chargers
Yes,
favored 2.5. Yeah. Key
right.
statistics. There's really the offense scores very similar. It's just 1 point differential. The defense points given up. Broncos give up a little bit more big plays than the Chargers defense does. Yards per game. Denver doesn't have as many yards. Chargers are 338 yards per game. Denver's 299. Strength of schedule, it's the same, 18th and 19th. Denver has Patrick Surtain the second or the 11th, however you want to look at it, with a questionable knee injury. Marvin Mims is questionable with his ribs, and Kareem Jackson, he is out because, remember, he's suspended for 4 games for his hit on Josh Dobbs. And the injury report for the Chargers, no real big injuries there. Nobody that's of importance there. So looking at this game, I hate to say it because I hate Sean Payton, but I'm gonna go with Denver.
You don't like the coach, so he's going with Denver.
I don't like
even
them,
though
but
it's
I'm
the
going
Denver
with Denver.
coach. Okay, yeah. What say you, Timmy?
I'm going Denver.
Are you?
Yeah, I've lost faith in the Charger coach.
Staley?
I don't think he's calling. I don't think it's unfortunate because I really like Herbert. I like Herbert as a quarterback, and
he's having a good year. I mean, good second half.
He's having a good year, but I think he could have had a better year. I think some of the play calling is not that great for the Chargers, and Denver's been playing, a lot better in the last few games. They lost that one game, but I think Denver's gonna win, even in LA.
Well, I mean, if you just take a look at the last 5 games, right? Denver absolutely has outscored San Diego, and they've done it against good teams: Kansas City, Buffalo, Minnesota, Cleveland. They lost to Houston, but still put up 17. The Chargers put up 6 against the Patriots. They put up 10 against Baltimore. They put up 20 against Green Bay and 38 to Detroit and 27 against the Jets before that. So you can see they're in a downward trend.
Yeah.
They're definitely going the wrong direction as far as scoring points. So Denver's on the up. I agree with you, Tim. San Diego's on the down. I'm taking the Broncos.
All right. Next game on my schedule is the Eagles at the Cowboys.
Great game.
Yeah, this should be an interesting game. I waffled on this one big time too. I only have 2 points on it. Philadelphia is 10-2, Cowboys 9-3. Power ranking is 2-3. Philadelphia 2, Dallas 3. We obviously know the 49ers are number 1. Last 5 games, they both are the same, 4-1. The away record for Philadelphia is 5-1. Home record for the Cowboys, 6-0. The current odds on this one is Dallas is favored by 3.5. They are favored by 3.5 with ESPN2. The over-under is 52. The money line is -190 on the Cowboys. The key statistics are all in favor of the Cowboys, except for the strength of schedule, which really doesn't mean that much. So everything is for the Cowboys. The Eagles don't really have. Julio Jones is questionable. Fletcher Cox questionable. They both have groin injuries. I waffled on this. I had the Cowboys. I changed it to the Eagles. I had the Cowboys. I changed it back to the Eagles. I'm going with the Eagles in Dallas on Sunday night game, 7:20 on NBC.
You're funny. I'm going to make it simple. I'm taking Dallas. I think these two teams are totally evenly matched, and I think it's whoever has home ground that day wins it. If you look at the schedules, 5 weeks ago they played. Philly beat them at home 28-23. Since then, Dallas has won 4 in a row. They beat 3 dogs and a halfway decent team in Seattle. On the flip side, the Eagles have lost to Frisco last week and got pounded, as we talked about, but then they beat Buffalo, KC, and Dallas prior to that. So from my perspective, I think these are two evenly matched teams, and I think it just boils down to whoever's playing at home that day. So for that reason, I'm taking Dallas and the defense, which didn't have much of a defense the last time they played, not till the last minute and 48 seconds of the game. That's when they got the ball, got possession, scored ahead, and then at a minute 48, they stopped them. So, and they ended up, yeah. So what do you got, Tim?
I'm going Dallas.
Are you really?
I agree with the home. I agree with the home team. I just think that just for home team advantage, I think that's why I'm going with Dallas. I seen the San Francisco game last week. They really got destroyed the last 3 quarters of that game. They played good the first quarter, but then they only got 2 field goals, which kind of surprised me that they weren't able to get it in. But I think Dallas is going to win this game.
All right. Well, that was easy. I mean, so we got 1 Philly and 2 Dallas Cowboys there. That seems easy enough. I'm with you. I just think they're too darn even, and it's a home team game. That's all. Mm-hmm. That's all.
All right. Next game, Tennessee. The other Monday night game, Tennessee at Miami.
The wasted Monday night game.
Yeah, exactly. It is in Miami, obviously, 7:15 Monday night. Power ranking, Miami is number 4, Tennessee 27th. Miami's favored by 13. Miami's 5-0 at home. They're 4-1 in the last 5 games. Tennessee is 0-6 on the road. The money line on Miami. Have you seen this, Johnny?
I'm guessing 650, 700.
800.
800, yeah. When you got a plus 13.5, you're usually pushing those big digits.
So,
but this is a game that Miami should win by 2 touchdowns.
It very, very well could. Derrick Henry is questionable with a head injury. Jeffrey Simmons, their big defensive tackle, is out with a knee injury. Miami Dolphins, they've got Terron Armstead, the offensive tackle, is questionable with an ankle. But you saw last time that Jalen Phillips got hurt. Their big pass rusher got hurt. He's out. I don't think it makes a difference. I'm going with the Miami Dolphins at home.
Yeah, it's kind of an easy game. I mean, the Dolphins literally lead in every single statistical category against them. I mean, this should be a no-brainer. God forbid it's a 50-point rout like we saw Miami do earlier this season, but it should be a rout. I got Miami. What say you, Tim? I think you already said you got Miami.
Yep, Miami all the way.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a silly game. I think when they set this up before, they probably anticipated this to be a better Monday night game.
Yeah, yep. Tennessee last year, definitely.
Yeah, with Derrick Henry on Monday night. Yeah, it makes sense.
Last game to pick.
The Vikings game.
I had to throw an extra horn in there because Tim said the Packers. The Vikings come off their bye week and go to the Las Vegas Raiders. Weird to say Las Vegas. Power ranking is Vikings they are 12th ranked power ranking. Weird for a 6-6 team. Raiders are 24th. Vikings are 4-2 on the road, 3-2 in their last 5 games. Raiders are 4-2 home record. Las Vegas is a 3-point dog. The Vikings are minus 160 for the money line. The key statistics: the Vikings have the offensive points per game by 5 points. They have the defensive points per game just by a point. They allow 1 point less with 20.2. The yards per game, the Vikings average 350. The Raiders average 284. So key injuries for the Vikings, obviously, Justin Jefferson coming off of his hamstring injury. Should be big to have him back. Kene Nwangwu is in concussion protocol. Najee Thompson, the big special teams guy covering, has a knee injury. The Raiders, Max Crosby, their big defensive end rusher, has a questionable injury with his knee. He's questionable with his knee injury. As Tim will tell you, I am a homer. I am going with the Vikings simply because I think they're the better team. Tim, TD, you can't pick the Packers. You have to pick the Vikings or the Raiders.
Unfortunately for me, I've got this image burned in my head of how Dobbs did last game, and I cannot shake that, which is really sad. And
you can't shake your head? Is that what you're saying?
I can't shake the image of how the Vikings played out of my head when they lost 12-10. Did I say 12-10? By the way, did people understand? Chicago beat us without a touchdown.
Yes.
And we have this great offense, and we scored 10 points. So, until they prove differently,
you gotta stop that damn horn.
I am picking the Raiders. I think they got a little bit of juice going from switching up the coach and everything, and they're playing at home. I just the Vikings got to show it to me. I'll take this game and be wrong. I have no problem being wrong in this game, but the way we played against the Bears last game, there's just I don't care if we had a week off. They'll need to prove it to me this week because, like I've told Brad before, these next two games are pretty much our season. And if we don't win both of these games, we might not even make it to the playoffs. So
playoffs?
Yeah.
Playoffs?
But I, unfortunately, based on what happened in that Bears game, I have to go, if we're being honest, I have to pick the Raiders.
Oh, fair enough. Well, I think you're forgetting some real key points of this. Number one, Jefferson's back. That's a big deal. Number two, came off the bye week, which I think is a real big deal because you literally brought in a brand new quarterback into your system and dropped him in right there and said, go, 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 with zero time to really get familiar. Having that bye week, I think, is going to be huge for the Vikings. Getting their top receiver back is going to be huge for the Vikings. Vegas hasn't beat a real team outside of Green Bay when Green Bay wasn't playing good this season. So they haven't beat anybody worth a hill of beans yet. So they, in my opinion, the Raiders have not proven themselves at all. I think beating the Giants doesn't constitute as a win. So I throw them out. The Vikings have beat some good teams. They beat some really tough teams. They're coming off fresh off the time. I got the Vikings all day in this one. Statistically, I realize it could be close. I do, but I don't think it is. I know that sounds. And the last thing I want to point out is I told you point blank, you're going to get that Dobbs game. It's going to happen. You're going to get that 3 or 4 pick game, and it's going to cost you. You just had it. I don't think you see it 2 weeks in a row.
Well, that's much better analysis than I can't shake an image out of my head, so I'm going to go with the Las Vegas Raiders.
I'd look at it from the pound for pound. You know, when your team comes off a bye week in this unique situation where they've had to pick up a quarterback, throw him into the program, they lost their best receiver, they lost their star quarterback, they're still winning games, they're still playing competitively. I realize they let a heartbreaker go against Chicago, but you're picking on the Vikings for giving up four field goals and losing. Yeah. I'm saying this about the team they lost against. They gave up 4 interceptions and still had a chance to win it in the end. Nobody should ever have a chance to be that close in a game after giving up 4 picks. And if you look at where those picks were, they should have been turned into touchdowns. That score should have been so much worse. So A, Chicago sucks. And B, the Vikings defense played very well for a team that gave up 4 picks and still gave them a chance to win. So I thought that still showed a lot even with Dobbs having the worst night he's had yet as a Viking. I hate to say yet, but I never say never.
All right. Well, those are all the picks for this week.
Yeah, so our differences is the Cleveland game, the Atlanta game, the Buffalo game, the Indy game, the Dallas game, and the Vikings game, believe it or not. Wow. Those are our differences.
Yeah, and weren't we going to do a parlay on the ones that we agreed on?
Yeah, so right now the ones we agree on is we agree the Steelers will win, the Saints will win, CJ Stroud and Houston will win, the Ravens will win, the Packers, the 49ers, Detroit, Miami, and Denver. Yeah, that's what we have. Is that what we got? Nine the same again? That's a heck of a parlay, my friend.
That is a heck of a parlay.
That's a heck of a parlay. You hit all 9 of those games. And again, but the only thing is when we look at all the games we agreed on, there's still a couple of them in there that I would still probably split my parlay another way. You just never know. It's any given Sunday, man. That's football.
Right. Exactly.
That's Dobbs.
4 interceptions, not 4 touchdowns. Ask Dobbs. Exactly.
Yeah, I wonder what those same Vikings fans that were screaming when he threw 3 touchdowns. Wasn't it 3 touchdowns in his first game? And, oh, my God, we're going to win it all. And I'm like, just slow your roll a little bit. Calm down. The guy's been on 5 teams prior to you for a reason.
Well, I think the excitement there is that you had a guy that could make up the difference between a backup quarterback and Kirk Cousins, could get you closer to being more competitive. So everybody was excited. There was an opportunity. Like you said, there was going to be some regression. I look at that game and as Tim says, I'm a homer. I only saw 2 interceptions because when I play football, if the receiver, if I touched the ball and I didn't catch it, my coach was in my ear and every other word was the F word. Normally every third word was the F word from him. So you do not drop a ball when it touches your hands. That's a no on the receiver. And so he did throw 2 bad passes. One of them, you're just like, what are you doing? Why are you throwing that pass? But the other one, he just didn't see the guy there. And that's a mistake that, a journeyman's going to make because he's not in there every week. So, but I think the Vikings, as you guys have said, these next 2 games are very important. I think we can beat the Bengals. I think we can beat the Raiders. The Packers now are going to make that game. I was saying in the middle of the season that the Packers was going to be an easy win because Love wasn't getting it done. And Detroit, they've proven that they're not truly a 9-3 team. So we have a shot against them. So it's as TD has said, the next 2 games are important. If we don't do it in the next 2 games, the last 3 don't make a difference. So it's
the thing to get excited for this week, and this is what every Vikings fan, and again, I'm an analytical guy. I'm not the fan, right? From the analytical guy looking at this game, third-party perspective, I would tell every Viking fan out there what you need to see this game is you need to see Dobbs' legs working and still throwing the ball. That's what you need to see. You need to see Jefferson getting open, allowing some of that pressure to come off some of those other receivers. You need to allow Jefferson to come open and then turn around and use your legs if he's not open, or try to find TJ Hawkinson. I mean, the point is we've got to see Dobbs utilizing that long game now. We've got that distance game where we can outrun him, get down the field with the best receiver in the game. You need to be able to see Dobbs air that ball out. But then when that crunch time comes and that pocket starts closing, we got to be able to see him use his legs to get those first downs. He puts that combo together. This team is very dangerous.
Well, and I think that's a very astute analysis because I think the head coach, I think he confused Dobbs a little bit, right? He was telling him you don't have to get out of the pocket and run all the time. Stay in the pocket, let your receiver get open, throw him open, those type of things. So when his natural instincts were to run, now you're telling him not to run. Now everything's not as clear as it used to be, right? So I think if you let Dobbs be Dobbs, call plays that makes Dobbs escape, be able to direct, throw the ball, I think that's who Dobbs is. And, the good head coaches of today, they take the players they have and they make the play scheme that fits those players, and as opposed to a Zimmer who is pounding the table and saying, hey, do it this way no matter what, and the game plan didn't work. I mean, that's something that TD and I have talked about to nauseum, is this Vikings team, these coaches cannot come out in the second half and make an adjustment that helps the team get that next step and win and come from behind or put on that extra 20 points that they needed to beat them. They haven't been able to do that. Zimmer was the worst at that. Brad Childress was the worst at that. Tice shouldn't even have been coaching. Jerry Burns, I think, was the last one. No, Denny Green was the last one I thought made a good adjustment at halftime. So,
but Denny Green was a good coach.
I mean, he was.
But you just, who he was. What I was getting at with Dobbs is I want to see him hang in there long enough to get that deep ball.
Yeah.
That's all. I've always said this about running quarterbacks. You've heard me say it before. If you guys don't give them time, you never get the big play. It's just because you want to run so early. Be a little bit more patient. Maybe take the hit if you got to, but give your boy a chance to get down the field and open up that secondary. Because when you do that, now it opens up your run game. It opens up your short toss game. It opens up everything. And that's going to be the real secret, is Dobbs staying long enough without running.
And I want to see this defense stop the wide receiver screen. Can you just do it once for me? Good Lord. Every team sees that we can't stop it, and they run it 2 or 3 times. The Bears did it. It was amazing. I think TD is sleeping, so it's maybe just 2 of us that are going to sign off here.
I'm right here.
Yeah, where? In the next room?
There. You're way back. Is that in the closet?
Right here.
Nah.
Tim's coming out of the closet.
Right here.
Yeah.
So based on our predictions, based on our Week 14 predictions, Tim is basically saying the Vikings are out of the playoff run. Yeah. So it's really weird how I'm throwing this out there just to contradict you, Tim, just to have a little. No. Hang on now. You are saying that because according to you, no. According to you, and we have the tape to prove it, the Vikings were going to drop the 2 versus Detroit, and now you're talking about dropping the Vegas game. That's 3 games. They dropped 3 games. They're long gone from the playoffs. So according to you, they're out.
Don't forget, he said that we could lose to the Packers too.
Right. Yeah. So according to him, they're already out because according to Tim, they're 3 losses away. Vegas, Detroit. You're out.
And Green Bay. So we're 1-4.
Yeah, I haven't made my final Green Bay prediction yet, but I do see where.
But it doesn't even matter.
We could lose to Green Bay.
But it doesn't even matter because if you drop 3 before that game, you aren't in the playoffs.
Right.
Playoffs? Who's talking about the playoffs?
I just want to win. All right, guys. Have a great week.
All right. See you, fellas. Later.
He lives and breathes the Minnesota Vikings.
I don't even know what to say. We're still having fun. He caught it, and he paid for it.
Houston, we have a problem.
Playoffs? And he's lose.
Playoffs? I mean, whatever you want to say.
You lucky suckers.
Luck has nothing to do with it.
The Vikings are going to win. Touchdown!